Abraham, you taught us that we can either only feel good or bad.
Well, actually, we say to you, you can feel how you feel or a little better. Because you don't have the option. If you feel really good, you don't really have the option of feeling really bad, because that vibrational proximity is too far away. If you feel really bad, you don't have the option of feeling really good. That vibration is too far away. But wherever you feel, whether you feel despair, whether you feel frustration, whether you feel love, appreciation, whether you feel fear, whether you feel anger, whether you feel depressed, no matter where you are on the emotional scale, you always have the option of feeling a little better than you feel right now. And when you lean in the direction of relief, you're going to train yourself into vibrational proximity of who you really are and where everything you want is.
I guess what I'm trying to understand from it, because you're saying, okay, on the scale between 23 and, I can't remember what the number 1 or 0 it was, you're saying that, okay, we have to assess with our guidance system whether we feel good about this or we feel bad about this. What if we're in a situation where we feel good and bad about it at the same time? I'll give you an example. So a girlfriend of mine, she is so excited. She's like, oh, I haven't seen my boyfriend in 6 months and I'm going to see him. I'm so excited. So of course she looks so happy. She looks like she feels good. Yet at the same time, she's so excited to the point where she's having a nervous breakdown type symptoms, where she's shaking, she is not eating properly, not sleeping properly. And so that obviously seems that she's feeling bad as well.
Well, first of all, we want to say to you, and you're not going to like hearing this, but we're always right, so we're going to say it to you, and then we're going to explain why it is so. You cannot feel bad and good at the same time. But you do have the ability to think that thought which leans you that way, and that thought which leans you that way, and that thought which leans you that way, and that thought which leans you that way. In other words, you could think a thought such as, next year I will make $100,000 more than this year. And as you think about it and what you will do with it and how it will feel, that thought may very well feel good. And then the next thought is, but that might mean I have to work more. I might have to give up some of my freedom. Money feels good, lack of freedom feels bad. So as it turns out, every subject is really two subjects. Every subject. It's like picking up a stick, and on one end of it, it's vibrating what you want, and on the other end of it, the absence. And sometimes you pick up the subject of something, and you think that it's vibrating here because it sounds like a topic that should feel good, when actually activating that stick, it activates where you last left it. In other words, what do you think, knowing your friend, what do you think would be her reasons that she would be looking forward to seeing her boyfriend? What kind of thoughts might she be thinking that would make her feel good when she thinks that? What do you think?
She's going to finally have sex again. Really not a better feeling thought than that. In other words, we get to be together, we get to feel one another, we get to remember who we are, we get to reignite those initial feelings that we have. We get to feel that tactile, visceral, sensual experience of being physical. We get to be at the same place at the same time. We get to focus collectively on the same idea. We get the triumphant explosion of having a sexual experience that brings us both to a place of feeling wonderful. What's not to feel good about that? But then, let's say, in that thought of that, as she thinks about that, almost simultaneously, not simultaneously, but almost simultaneously, she thinks, but then we don't get to stay together. So then, or what if I say the wrong thing? Or what if I find out that there's a reason that we're not together more? Or any number of things. But it is always a contradiction to what is wanted that always introduces the counter, negative, resistant, not allowing vibration, always. So what we would do, we would say, if we were standing in her physical shoes and we were getting ready to go, we would pay attention to what we are feeling when we are feeling it.
In other words, Jerry and Esther were getting ready to leave Chicago the other day, and Esther began to feel uneasiness. She said to Jerry, I just feel uneasy. They had a 2-day drive in the monster bus. It is a big 45-foot Prevost Rockstar bus, magnificent in every way. They are going to get on the road, and they are going to be again heading to Buffalo, where they left the bus. And as they're getting ready, Esther says, I have an uneasiness that I cannot explain. So she sat with an intent of feeling better. She made a list of things. The bus is running magnificently. We know exactly where we're going. We have plenty of time to get there. All is well in our world. We have plenty of leeway time. And she got feeling better, and off they went. And before they got to the outskirts of Chicago, they were detoured onto a back road, and it took over 7 hours to get out of Chicago because there had been flooding. Well, it was satisfying to Esther to realize that there was something sort of unwanted in her vibration, something in her future experience. Interesting, they laughed about it because they had intended to fly from Chicago to Toronto. They had not planned to bring the bus. Their initial first response was the best one. Then they overrode their pre-paved determination, and nothing bad happened except they jumped in with their action before they'd really lined up their energy. And as Esther and Jerry began to move toward the action, Esther could feel that something was off. Now, was it the end of their world? No, it wasn't that kind of negative emotion. Was it uncomfortable? Not really. They have a bus. They have their bathroom with them. They have their kitchen with them. They were able to trade drivers all along the way. They listened to wonderful things. They talked about how much they are in love with each other and with life. In other words, there was not a problem in the world. It just wasn't exactly the speedy journey that expected to have. But as you begin to pay attention to when you feel negative emotion, and if you can't figure out in the moment what's the negative emotion about, just pay attention to what happens sort of kind of soon. And it will show you what it is that you were vibrationally anticipating. And before you know it, you can begin to deliberately set your thoughts in the direction of what you want. And you will not only understand exactly where you're going, you will begin to understand how every other factor that has anything to do with you dovetails and factors into what you are about. Now, we're talking about advanced, deliberate creation. We're talking about recognizing that when something doesn't feel right in your stomach, it means that something isn't the way you want it to be. You never, ever, ever feel negative emotion for no reason. So the negative emotion could be because of what I'm about to do, or what I just did, what I'm about to say, or what I just said, what I'm about to think, or what I just thought. In other words, there are a lot of the reasons for it, but the bottom line is you don't want to freak out about your negative emotions. You want to utilize them as the guidance that they are, which is exactly what Esther did. She said, something doesn't feel right, so let's start with the things that matter most. The things that matter most, we're together, and that's all that matters. The next thing that matters is we are going to move comfortably and safely to Chicago. And as she did a sort of gut check on everything along the way, she couldn't find anything that mattered, and it never occurred to her that she would have negative emotion over a delay. You see? Next time she will. Next time she feels that, they may decide to leave 7 hours later. They may decide to take another route altogether. In other words, all kinds of information will come to you once you begin to acknowledge that your emotions matter, and you teach yourself what your emotions mean to you. No one could write a book that says this emotion always means this, because the emotions that you feel are always considering the two vibrational vantage points that you've got going on at all times. The vantage point of who you really are and what you really want, and where you're standing in this moment. So if we were standing in the shoes of your friend who is feeling some anxiety, is what it sounded like, if we were standing in her shoes, we would acknowledge how much fun it's going to be and how much we love doing it, and how nice it is that we have this opportunity to get together, and how comfortable it is that both people are willing and wanting, and how nice it is to figure it out as you go, and how you don't have to ever figure out your whole route to the end of time. You just have to make the right decision from where you are as best you can, and how no matter what, you can figure it out as you go. And so what if you get into a little slow time or into a little bit of delay? So what? All it means is more contrast, causing me to put more clarity, more opportunity to get it even better. Everything's always working out for you. This is the thing that we so want to impress upon you. Everything is always working out for you. Everything is always working out. If you knew the resources of source, the available, we hear your beeper, the available parties of cooperation that are lined up to assist you all in everything that you want, your anxiety would all wash away, and you would replace it with this sensation of being loved and being cared for and being the deliberate creator of your experience. But we can't talk you out of the resistance that you've practiced. You have to feel it and release it, and feel it and release it, and feel it and release it. So it is so wonderful to think and feel and watch the results, and think and feel and watch the results, because this is always true. What you're thinking and feeling and what manifests always matches every single time. So it's nice if before you take action, you can think and feel, and then let your action be guided by that information. But if you don't, no big deal, because it's also true that what you think and feel and what you've got is always a vibrational match. We call that post-manifestational awareness. In other words, it's kind of nice after the fact to figure out what happened, but it's a very helpful thing, because in time you can show yourself what you feel like when you stand between who you really are and who you're letting yourself be. In time, you can literally feel an emotion and talk it into a better place. And by talking the emotion into a better place, you've talked your vibration into a better place. And by talking your vibration into a better place, you've shifted your point of attraction. Jerry said to Esther, finally, he said, you know, rather than feeling what's wrong, why don't we create what's right? In other words, after Esther said about the fifth time, I don't know, I've got a funny feeling, Jerry wanted to say, well, get over it. Get over it. Get over the feeling, because we're going to get on the road. We're going, so get over the feeling. Do whatever it takes to get over the feeling. That's really what we want to say to you. Don't stand paralyzed. Get over the feeling. Do what you were born to do. Think and feel, and think and feel, and think it into a better place and feel it in a better place, and then think it into a better place and then feel it in a better place. And don't ask anyone to do anything ever to make your life better. Just think it and feel it, and think it and feel it, and think it and feel it, and think it and feel it, until before you know it, those who watch you will say, what gives with you? Everything you want comes to you. It's like you just think it and feel it, and then it happens. And we say that's exactly what happens every single time. Good time for a segment of refreshment.